Hide my controls here. Okay. I don't know how much folks in the room have already done research about this certificate program on your own prior to joining us here this evening. So some of the info we're sharing now will you can find on our website as well. But as Brenna said, we'll share the recording and then also the a PDF of the presentation itself with you. So let me start with just a brief overview of the program. Classes are 7 weeks long. They meet once a week for around a 3-hour period for each class meeting. And we have begun to add some classes on weekday mornings in the past few terms. So primarily you'll see weekday evenings, 6 to 9 or 6:30 to 9:30, but occasionally Saturday mornings for certain classes so far. All of the required classes for the digital media certificate are available completely remotely and online. So regardless of your geographical location, you can complete the program start to finish remotely, completely on Zoom. Our classes are synchronous, and so you are meeting live for almost every class in the program with an instructor and a relatively small group of students for each class. Some electives are available on campus. So for those of you who are in the Boston area or close to the Boston area and you are interested in coming onto campus, you do have some of those benefits once you opt into this program, including access to certain labs and equipment. And even some of our elective classes will offer, a handful of in-person meetings or a fully in-person class in a given term. When you register for a class, you can opt in at the time of registration, and that can happen, on your first class. You can just opt in right away if you feel really confident that the certificate is the right program for you after talking to us tonight and thinking that through. But you also have some time to try classes and decide, whether or not you feel like it's the right fit before you officially opt in. I think one of the things we're really pleased about with this program is the flexibility. And we'll talk a little bit more as we go on about things becoming even increasingly more flexible as we've gotten to know our students over this first year of the program. So, one of the things that you'll do when that'll happen when you opt into the program, should you choose to, is that that'll trigger an advising meeting with me. And I'll reach out to you and we'll start talking through your goals and, what it is that you're hoping to do in this program and after the program, and come up with a course plan, a class plan that works for you based on your needs and your goals. Another thing that we're really proud of in the program is the fact that you get one-on-one time with your faculty. And so most of our classes are structured in a way that combines group sessions with technical demonstrations and lectures and presentations with one-on-one sessions between faculty and students, or small group sessions with faculty and students, sometimes with you sharing your screen and actually working through the nuts and bolts and sort of granular pieces of a particular project. But you also have feedback from your peers as well during the program. So we do critique and feedback sessions throughout most of our classes too. It's 8 classes total, as you may have seen on our website, to complete the certificate from start to finish. And so we'll talk a little bit more as we go on about how those 8 classes would break down for you, depending on your goals, your needs, your background, what kind of skills you've already gained through other schooling or your work experience, and what that might mean for you in terms of being exempt from certain foundational requirements, et cetera. The last class in that 8-class sequence for all of you, regardless of, what background you bring when you enter, is a capstone class in which you work either individually or in a small group with a faculty member who you choose or who's recommended to you, who helps you, develop a final project. Without the constraints of a particular class or set of parameters. And so what that might look like is maybe digging more deeply into a project that you started in one of your required or elective classes during the program. 7 weeks long for the capstone class. And then you meet around 4 times with your capstone faculty, and just getting feedback during that time and guidance and help with completing that project on a technical and a conceptual level. I think I kind of started to dig into some of this in the last slide, but we have registration already open now for our second fall term. Most classes begin in the final week of October. You can register for a class or multiple classes, or you can register and choose to enroll in the certificate program at the time of registration. It really is a simple one-click process that takes you into that next screen where you do your enrollment. You can absolutely try a class, and it says apply, but really enroll later. And we talked about one-on-one advising and planning. I think that's one of the really major benefits of enrolling or opting into the program. Another one is that you gain free access to software. All of our Mass Arts students, whether you opt into the certificate or program or not, if you take one of these classes, you'll have, for the duration of that class, free access to the full Adobe Creative Cloud suite. And so that's a login with your MassArtNet ID and email address. And if you do opt in and become a certificate student officially, you will maintain uninterrupted access to that software. So if you're just taking a la carte individual classes one at a time, you may have an interruption and then you gain your access back with the next class. Of course, you gain access to the MassArt. And by that, I mean, you're getting the emails from all areas of the college, alerting you to events and things that are happening on campus or remotely on Zoom. Just an involvement in this community. And if you're local, that can mean actually being on campus and being part of that in a physical way. And then the capstone portfolio class. That's really the class that you cannot take if you're not an enrolled certificate student. And so that's sort of one-on-one attention and that close work with a faculty member and some peers if others are finishing their capstone at the same time that you are. That's something that's specific to enrolled certificate students, and that's a particular benefit of opting in. You may have seen that the digital media certificate has two concentrations or two tracks, one of them being lens-based media. The lens-based media track focuses equally on still photography and digital video. That's my background. In addition to my role as the program director of digital media, I teach for Mass Arts undergrad and graduate programs in photography and film and video. I'm an alum of Mass Arts MFA program in video. And I see those two things as really having a lot of overlap, still photography and moving image these days. I think the lines have really blurred between the two. When we started the program a little over a year ago, we decided that we would offer a set of core classes that involves both photography and video. But as we'll talk more about later, if you have a particular interest in one of those areas and not the other, you can craft a track for yourself that focuses on one. Maybe you dip your toe into the other with an elective class or that kind of thing. We're seeing all kinds of students come into this particular concentration or this track. People who are really just beginning and brand new to all of the equipment and processes and techniques. People who've been shooting seriously, either still imagery or video for quite some time. People who really are maybe making a career change or starting their career and want to enter in and be filmmakers or animators. And you can see the digital media certificate as a pathway to a degree, whether it's an undergraduate degree that you're looking to enter, or whether you're thinking about applying to a post-bac program or a graduate program, an MFA program. If you have not been making work and not been producing, creative content for a while, the program is a way to start getting into that or to rekindle that process for yourself. Documentarians, visual storytellers, commercial photographers and videographers, really fine art focused people. I think the program has, coursework and classwork and faculty catering to all of those sort of various areas of lens-based media. And we have been seeing in our classes over the last year, many people coming in who are, working for companies, whether that's private corporations or educational institutions, and they're already doing marketing or content creation. And maybe they've been asked to create photo or video content and don't feel that they have the skill set or foundational skill set to really do that in the way that they want to. And so they're building those skills here in the certificate program. On the other side, the other track or concentration is our experience design track. And so here you're seeing things like coding and interactivity and app development, UX and UI design, these kinds of things. And just like the lens-based track, we're seeing professionals coming in who are maybe looking to update their skill set, or they've been working in maybe print design, graphic design, and now they're looking to add a deeper level of more updated skills to their portfolio. And again, pathway to a degree, people looking to apply to one of Mass Arts graduate or post-bac programs or elsewhere, that kind of thing. Web developers and designers. We have a student right now who's looking to be a toy designer, an industrial designer, who's focusing primarily on our 3D design and interactive object making classes. So lots of ways to come at this side of the certificate program as well. And particularly in our elective classes, there really is a significant overlap between the two sides. So I've definitely met with a lot of students, new students and prospective students over this last many months to a year who are, having trouble deciding which side of the certificate they're sort of most interested in, and they're dipping their toe into each side. And so around the elective classes, we are thinking about people who are interested in making photographic imagery. Maybe they're thinking about AI and photographic imagery or video. Maybe they're trying to make interactive works or installation. These kinds of classes where you can absolutely come at these elective classes from many angles. And we're seeing students who are in the lens-based track, students in the experience design track, meeting together in these elective classes where they're getting a bit of both in one way or another. I'd say that, one of the questions that I'm getting most often from people is around these two foundational requirements that are the beginning of the program if you're starting from square one. And so I can talk a little bit about these. I won't read the descriptions to you. They're available to you, and they'll be sent to you just in this presentation tomorrow. But I'll just talk more generally and say that our digital fluency class really is about gaining agility, just working in this digital space. And so, we have people who are just working, maybe artists who have been functioning in a tactile world and really not using digital and computer-based skills or new media in their practice. And they really want to kind of get this top-down understanding. They want to understand Adobe and Google, and they just want to be more fluent and more fluid around this digital space. And so digital fluency starts there, thinks about, things like file management and how to empower yourself to troubleshoot your own home system and, come up with a system that works for you. So I do find that people who even have, they're sitting at a computer all day, find some value in this class, but we have had many folks come into the program who are exempt from this initial foundational requirement. We talk about what their background looks like and what they've done in the past, and that means an exemption from digital fluency. The second foundational requirement, we've had more of or fewer people exempting from this class. And this is really about thinking, really moving from sort of general digital skills into using digital tools for content creation, as it says, design and art making. And so this class over 7 weeks basically really gives a very intensive and very dense introduction to a wide range of making methods in the digital space. And so that includes vector art, if you're thinking about communication design and really getting into interactive apps or object making, that kind of thing. We look at time-based work, video and sound. We look at pixel-based image making, photography, digital illustration, etc. And these are very, very intensive weeks. And students then choose an area that feels like it's of the most interest to what they want to be doing in the program, and then make a mini project at the end of the class. We had a great cohort in this class this summer. It was a lot of fun, a lot of information, but some really interesting things made at the end. So if you do opt in, one of the conversations we'll have at the outset is about, which one of these, if either or both is right for you and is necessary for you at this point in time. So just a sort of overview of the sequence, the course sequence in general. We start with those foundational requirements. Definitely best to do them in that order. We've been offering these in the summer, generally, the digital fluency and digital making, but we're thinking about possibly offering a round of these classes in the spring as well, as we see more digital media students coming into the program and the need for it. There are core courses on both tracks, on both in both concentrations. And so I will say that on the lens-based side, we've got these photography sort of pairings. You learn about the camera and how it functions in the production side of things in the first term, and then in the second term, be it fall or spring, you go into the post-production side, and the same thing is true for the digital video side of things. Camera and sound really focusing on making and production for 7 straight weeks, and then moving into the editing, finishing, post-production side of things. And in our video classes right now, we have, people who are really coming in wanting to do traditional documentary storytelling, as well as folks who are thinking more on the side of scripted narrative and moving into that space, or some kind of experimental work. Lots of genres covered in the video classes. And we wrote the curriculum of the program thinking that people on the lens-based side would want to have both. But what I'm finding over the months is that we have some really sort of diehard photographers who want to be making still imagery and not digital video, or vice versa. And so we've expanded the flexibility there to say, choose both, choose one or the other, either is fine. And then of course, on the lens-based side, you end with the capstone portfolio class. On the experience design side, we have digital media and design and intro to experience design. The second option there will be offered is available for registration right now for the second fall 2024 term. And then we'll move into digital media and design in January. Experience design is about communication design and thinking about interactivity, applications, et cetera, and really the planning phase of design. And digital media and design is thinking more around the technology, coding languages, introduction to coding languages, et cetera. And which languages are the right ones for you, whether you're doing interactive video and you need Max MSP, or you're really thinking about web broadcast and you need that HTML and CSS, you'll do some coding, some classes in coding in order to gain those skills. And then again, on the experience design side, a capstone class where you're finishing off with a portfolio, working individually with a faculty, and maybe just you, or maybe a small group of students finishing at the same time. I think that's it for the slides and the visual presentation, but I'll stop there and say, we're open to your questions now. If you want me to expand on anything covered there, or just have a question about your own situation and something we didn't cover, now's the time for that.